Dr. Nora Winters had always known there was something different about her relationship with plants. While other xenobotanists at the Ganymede Research Station relied on sophisticated equipment to analyze alien flora, she could sense things about them just by being near. Today, that difference would change everything. The specimen before her, a crystalline flower from the outer rim, pulsed with subtle bioelectric fields that only she could detect. Its translucent petals shimmered with internal light, responding to her presence in ways that defied explanation. She reached out not with instruments but with that peculiar sense she'd kept secret her entire career. Another late-night Dr. Winters. The voice startled her. Director Marcus Chen stood in the doorway of her lab, his expression unreadable. Behind him loomed a tall figure that made Nora's breath catch, a xylaxian, their plant-based biology evident in the subtle chlorophyll tint of their crystalline skin and the vine-like tendrils that served as hair. Ambassador Thela has specifically requested to observe your work, Marcus said, his tone carefully neutral. The xylaxian moved forward with fluid grace. Unlike any Nora had seen before, this one's crystalline features seemed to resonate with the same frequency as her test subject. You perceive it, don't you? Thela's voice was melodic like wind through leaves, the song of its cellular structure. Nora hesitated. For years she'd hidden her ability, fearing it would mark her as unstable or unscientific, but something in Thela's knowing gaze made her nod. Yes, I've always been able to feel them, their patterns, their needs. It's not just data collection for me. Show me, Thela said, moving closer. Nora turned back to the crystalline flower. As she focused, the bioelectric field became visible to her inner sense, a complex web of energy that pulsed with life. She guided it gently, encouraging it to expand, to reach out. The flower's petals unfurled further, its internal light brightening in response. Thela made a sound like rustling leaves. Extraordinary, you have the touch that speaks to life. Among my people, such a gift is rare, even for us, but in a human. The ambassador's features shifted, displaying what Nora realized was intense emotion. It should not be possible. I don't understand, Nora said. I've always kept it quiet, used it to help my research, but never. Because you feared they wouldn't understand, Thela finished. But we do, Dr. Winters, my people have been searching for someone like you for generations. Our most sacred gardens are dying, and with them the connection to our ancestral memories. We believed only a xylaxian could help, but perhaps that was our limitation. Marcus cleared his throat. Ambassador, are you suggesting what I think you are? I am formally requesting Dr. Winters' assistance on Xylax Prime, Thela said. Our Council of Elders must see this gift firsthand. Nora's mind raced. She'd spent her career studying alien plants from the safety of her lab, and now she was being offered the chance to visit one of the most mysterious worlds in known space. A planet where the very ecosystem was said to be sentient, where the line between biology and consciousness blurred. The Council doesn't normally allow humans this deep into Xylaxian space, Marcus cautioned. The diplomatic implications are secondary to necessity, Thela interrupted. Dr. Winters possesses something we thought lost to time, a connection we believed unique to our species. The ambassador turned to Nora, tendrils swaying with urgency. Will you help us understand why? The crystalline flower pulsed again, its light synchronizing with Nora's heartbeat. All her life she'd hidden what made her different, treated it as a secret tool rather than the gift it might be. Now, looking at Thela's earnest expression, she realized her difference might be exactly what the universe needed. Yes, she said, surprising herself with her certainty, I'll help. Thela's features brightened like sunlight through leaves. Then prepare yourself, Dr. Winters, you're about to see wonders your instruments could never capture, and perhaps discover why you can hear the songs that only my people were meant to know. As Marcus left to begin the paperwork, Nora turned back to her flower. Its glow had changed, somehow stronger now that she'd stopped hiding what she could do. She wondered what other mysteries awaited her among the living gardens of Xylax Prime, and why she, of all humans, could speak their ancient language. One thing was certain, she'd just taken the first step into a much larger world, one where the boundary between human and alien, between science and something far more profound, was about to blur forever. The first sight of Xylax Prime took Nora's breath away. From orbit, the planet looked like a jewel wrapped in living lace, continents of crystalline forests glowing with their own inner light, oceans that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. But it was the sensation that overwhelmed her most, an entire world humming with bioelectric resonance that called to her gift like nothing ever had. You feel it already, Thela observed from beside her on the observation deck of the Xylaxian vessel. Most humans see only the surface beauty, you sense its soul. Nora nodded, unable to find words for the symphony of life signals washing over her. The ship descended through layers of luminous clouds, each one tasting different to her unusual senses, some sharp and vital like morning dew, others deep and ancient like forest loam. They landed in what Thela called the Heart Grove, a vast crystalline complex that served as both seat of government and sacred space. The architecture seemed to grow from the ground itself, towers of living crystal intertwined with massive tree-like structures that pulsed with internal light. But something was wrong. Nora felt it the moment she stepped onto Xylaxian soil, a discordance in the planet's song, a sickness hidden beneath the beauty. The gardens are this way, Thela said, leading her down a path that seemed to generate its own illumination. Other Xylaxians watched them pass, their crystalline features showing varying degrees of hope and suspicion. Nora heard whispers, the human who speaks to life, an outsider in the sacred spaces, perhaps she can hear the old songs. The sacred gardens, when they reached them, made Nora's heart ache. Acres of crystal flowers and living lights stretched before her, each species more extraordinary than the last. But the dissonance was stronger here, a wrong note in the planet's symphony. This section began dying 3 cycles ago, Thela explained, indicating a bed of what looked like glass roses tinged with sickly yellow. Then it spread. Our best cultivators can't stop it. The gardens don't just hold our plants, Dr. Winters, they hold our history, our collective memory encoded in their very structure. Nora knelt beside the ailing crystal roses, extending her gift carefully. The sensation that came back was like a scream of pain. They're not dying, she said slowly. They're forgetting, like the connection to whatever sustains them is being severed. Impossible, came a sharp voice. A tall Xylaxian emerged from the garden paths, their crystalline form darker and more angular than Thela's. These gardens have sustained themselves for millennia. We don't need human interference. Chief Cultivator Vex, Thela said, their tone careful. Dr. Winters has a gift. So you've said, Vex interrupted. But these gardens are sacred, they hold the memory songs of our ancestors, allowing an outsider to meddle. Nora barely heard them, she was focused on the crystal roses, on the wrongness in their song. Without thinking, she reached out both physically and with her gift, touching one of the yellowed blooms. The response was immediate, the flower's glow strengthened, its color shifting back toward healthy blue-white. The arguing Xylaxians fell silent. How did you do that? Vex demanded. I didn't do anything, Nora said. I just listened. They're trying to tell us something, the whole garden is. She closed her eyes, extending her awareness further. The symphony of Xylax Prime filled her mind, beautiful, complex, but with that persistent discord running through it. There's a pattern to the decay, it's not random, it's like they're trying to reveal something. Thela moved closer, their own crystalline form resonating with the garden's frequency. What are they revealing? I don't know yet, but look, the decay follows these lines, these paths through the garden like it's drawing something. Nora stood, turning slowly. Your ancestors encoded memories in these plants. What if they encoded something else, a message that could only be read when the garden began to change? Vex made a sound of disbelief, but Thela's features brightened with excitement. The old stories speak of such things, messages left in the very fabric of life, waiting for the right moment, the right reader. The separatists turned, finally noticing their presence. Stop her, their leader commanded. She'll ruin everything. But Nora kept humming, walking forward as gardens responded to her hybrid song. She could feel the memories flowing through her now, not just the ancient project that had created her bloodline, but thousands of years of human and Xylaxian history stored in living crystal. The gardens were never meant to be purely Xylaxian, she said, her voice carrying strange harmonics. They were designed to hold both histories, both songs. That's why they're transforming now. They're trying to restore the balance that was lost. One of the separatists raised a weapon, but Thela moved faster, their crystalline form shifting to deflect the blast. Elder Kith's ancient voice joined Nora's song, adding depths of harmony that made the very air shimmer. The Separatists' device began to spark and smoke, unable to maintain its forced extraction in the face of the growing resonance. Their leader, desperate now, tried to increase its power. "You don't understand," they shouted. "These memories belong to us. Humans destroyed their own world. They'll destroy ours too if we let them in." "No," Nora said, still moving forward. "Look at what the gardens are showing us. Really look." She touched the root node, and suddenly the entire grove was filled with holographic images, scenes from Earth and Xylax Prime playing in parallel. They showed disasters, yes, but also healing. Conflict, but also cooperation. And through it all, the subtle influence of those rare individuals who could speak to both worlds. "We were never meant to be separate," she continued, feeling the truth of it in her cells. "The garden's transformation isn't about choosing one side over the other, it's about remembering that we're stronger together." The Separatists' device finally overloaded, shattering in a burst of energy that their leader dropped with a cry of pain. The chaos in the garden's song began to stabilize, finding a new harmony that incorporated both the ancient rhythms and the emerging patterns. But something was still wrong. The forced extraction had damaged the root node's core systems. Nora could feel it failing, threatening to take centuries of irreplaceable memories with it. "The node is dying," Elder Kith announced. "Without it, the garden's transformation will remain incomplete. All that we have learned, all that we have remembered will be lost." Nora looked at the damaged node, then at her own hands, seeing again the patterns of light that marked her hybrid nature. She understood then what she had to do. "Not if I can help it," she said, placing both hands on the crystal surface. "I'm not just a bridge between worlds, I'm a bridge between past and future." She closed her eyes and began to sing again, offering herself as a living conduit for the garden's failing systems. The node's light pulsed once, twice, and then began to stabilize, using her unique biology as a template for its own transformation. The process would take hours, she realized. Hours of maintaining perfect harmony between human and Xylaxian energies, of holding the balance between two worlds. But for the first time in her life, she knew exactly where she belonged. She was the root of truth they had all been seeking. Dawn broke over Xylax Prime in waves of crystalline light, illuminating a garden transformed. Where once there had been decay, new growth sparkled with hybrid vigor, crystal flowers that carried both the mathematical precision of Xylaxian design and the organic unpredictability of Earth's evolution. And at the center of it all, Nora Winters opened her eyes. She had spent the entire night connected to the root node, her consciousness merged with the garden's living network as she helped it stabilize and adapt. Now, as she slowly withdrew her hands from the crystal surface, she saw that her skin retained a subtle luminescence, not quite Xylaxian, but no longer purely human either. "You did it," Thella said softly, offering support as Nora stood on shaky legs. "The garden's transformation is complete." Elder Kith moved forward, their ancient form glowing with renewed energy. "More than complete, look." Around them, the crystal forests were coming alive in ways no one had seen before. The memory spires pulsed with new stories, not just ancient histories but possible futures. The very air hummed with harmonies that everyone, human or Xylaxian, could now perceive. "The Separatists were right about one thing," Nora said, watching the play of light through newly formed crystals. "Change can be dangerous, but refusing to change can be even more destructive." Vex, who had returned during the night to witness the transformation, stepped forward. Their earlier hostility had been replaced by something like wonder. "We thought preserving our pure heritage meant rejecting anything foreign, but our heritage was never pure, was it? The potential for this union was written into our very genetics." "Written into all of us," Elder Kith confirmed, though it took someone who could hear both songs to remind us of that truth. The garden continued to evolve around them. New varieties of crystal plants emerged, combining characteristics of both worlds. The root nodes, now stabilized through Nora's intervention, began processing and storing memories in ways that incorporated both Xylaxian precision and human intuition. A group of human scientists summoned from the Ganymede Research Station arrived to witness the changes. Among them was director Marcus Chen, who could only stare in amazement at what the sacred gardens had become. "Dr. Winters," he said, "when I sent you here, I thought we might learn something about Xylaxian botany I never imagined." "None of us did," Nora replied, smiling as a newly formed crystal flower bloomed beside her in response to her voice. "But that's the beauty of it. Sometimes the most important discoveries aren't the ones we're looking for." The days that followed brought more changes. Word spread through both human and Xylaxian space about what had happened in the sacred gardens. Other humans with latent abilities similar to Nora's began to emerge, drawn to Xylax Prime by the garden's strength and song. The Xylaxian Council, led by Elder Kith, established a new program to study and nurture these hybrid talents. Even the separatists, those who had survived the confrontation, began to see the wisdom in integration. The garden's new growth proved more resilient, more vibrant than anything that had come before. It was impossible to deny the strength that came from combining both heritages. 1 month after the transformation, Nora stood in her favorite spot among the memory spires, watching the double sunset paint the crystal forests in sheets of gold and purple. Thela joined her, their friendship now deepened by shared understanding. "The Council has a proposal for you," they said. "We want to establish a new position, Guardian of the Hybrid Gardens, someone who can continue to guide the integration of our two species' knowledge and abilities." Nora touched a nearby crystal formation, feeling the complex harmonies that now flowed freely between all forms of life in the garden. "I accept," she said, "on one condition." "Name it." "We make this place a center for learning, open to anyone who wants to understand the connection between our peoples. No more secrets, no more hidden histories." Thela's form brightened in agreement. "The time of separation is over, now we grow together." Above them, the first stars of evening began to appear, their light refracting through the crystal canopy in new patterns. The garden sang its hybrid song into the gathering night, a melody of unity that would echo across the generations to come. And Nora, standing at the convergence of two worlds, finally felt complete. She was neither human nor Xylaxian, but something gloriously in between, a bridge, a translator, a living symbol of what was possible when different species learned to harmonize their songs. The sacred gardens of Xylax Prime had not just been saved, they had been reborn, and with them, a new chapter in the story of both species had begun to bloom. "This is absurd," Vex declared. "These gardens are dying and you waste time on fairy tales and human intuition." But Nora wasn't listening anymore. She was following the pattern of decay, the path of wrongness in the garden's song. It led to a section of crystal flowers she hadn't seen before, tall, spiral-shaped blooms that seemed to bend light around themselves. As she approached, they began to glow brighter, responding to her presence, and in their song she heard something that made her stop short. "What is it?" Thela asked. "They're singing in English," Nora whispered. "How is that possible?" The crystal flowers pulsed with light, their song growing stronger, and in their chorus Nora heard words that would change everything. "Welcome home, child of two." The crystal forest hummed with ancient secrets as Nora followed the spiral-shaped flowers deeper into the garden's heart. Each step brought new revelations, snippets of song in both English and the musical language of the Xylaxians, pulses of light that seemed to guide her path. Behind her, Thela moved in reverent silence while Vex followed with barely contained skepticism. "Here," Nora said, stopping before a grove of towering crystal structures that resembled DNA helixes. "The song is strongest here." She reached out, both physically and with her gift, and the structures began to glow with intense blue-white light. Images flooded her mind. Earth thousands of years ago. A Xylaxian expedition, not the first contact that historical records showed, but an earlier, secret mission. Humans and Xylaxians working together, combining their knowledge, their very essence. "Impossible," Vex breathed, their crystalline form vibrating with shock. "These are the memory spires. They hold our most sacred histories, but they've been dormant for centuries." "Not dormant," Thela corrected, moving closer to examine the glowing structures. "Waiting, Dr. Winters, what do you see?" Nora's voice shook as she translated the images, the memories stored in living crystal. "There was a project long ago. Your people discovered that humans had potential. Certain humans could perceive the bioelectric fields that are natural to Xylaxians. They believed that by combining human and Xylaxian DNA, they could create beings who could bridge both worlds. Abomination Vex spat, "Our ancestors would never." "They did," came a new voice. All three turned to see an elderly Xylaxian emerge from the garden paths. Their crystalline form was ancient, edges softened by time, internal light pulsing with the slow rhythm of centuries. "Elder Kith," Thela and Vex said in unison, bowing. The elder moved forward with surprising grace, their gaze fixed on Nora. "I have waited long for one such as you to come. The gardens have been calling, trying to reveal what was hidden, but only one who could hear both songs could unlock the truth." "Then it's real?" Nora asked. "The project, the combination of human and Xylaxian DNA." "Very real," Elder Kith confirmed. "And you, Dr. Winters, are proof of its success. Though many generations have passed, the potential remained dormant in certain human bloodlines, waiting for the right moment to awaken." Vex made a sound of protest, but Elder Kith silenced them with a gesture. "The gardens are not dying, Chief Cultivator. They are transforming, responding to her presence, trying to complete what was begun millennia ago." The memory spires pulsed brighter, and Nora gasped as new images filled her mind. There were others like me, weren't there, humans who could hear the songs? "Yes," Elder Kith said, "but fear and prejudice drove our peoples apart. The project was abandoned, its records hidden in the only place they could never be destroyed, within the living memory of the gardens themselves." Thela moved to stand beside Nora, their crystalline form resonating with the spire's frequency. "This is why the council has felt such urgency. The gardens knew she was coming, they've been preparing." "Preparing for what?" Nora asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Elder Kith's features shifted in what might have been a smile. "For the renewal of what was lost. The gardens are not dying, they are awakening, but they need someone who can speak both languages, who can bridge the gap between our worlds once again." The entire grove seemed to pulse in agreement, the song of the crystal forests rising to a crescendo that only Nora could fully hear. In that moment, she understood why she had always been different, why her gift had seemed so strange and yet so natural. "I am not just human," she whispered, watching patterns of light dance through her skin in a way she'd never seen before. "And I'm not Xylaxian, I'm something in between, a bridge." "You are what both our peoples were meant to become," Elder Kith said, "and now, at last, the gardens can reveal their full purpose." But before they could explain further, a harsh sound cut through the forest's song, alarms screaming across the complex. Thela's form flickered with concern. "The outer gardens," they said urgently. "Something's wrong, the transformation, it's accelerating too quickly." Nora felt it too, the careful harmony of the garden's songs spiraling into chaos, the very ground beneath them beginning to pulse with unstable energy. What should have been a gradual awakening was turning into an explosion of power that threatened to tear the sacred spaces apart. "Someone is interfering with the process," Elder Kith said grimly. "They seek to force the gardens to reveal their secrets all at once, regardless of the cost." Nora looked at the memory spires, still pulsing with the truth of her heritage, then at the distant flashes of light where the garden's transformation was spinning out of control. She had finally discovered who and what she really was. Now she had to save the very place that held the key to her identity before it tore itself apart. The sacred gardens were tearing themselves apart. Waves of uncontrolled bioelectric energy pulsed through the crystal forests, causing the delicate structures to resonate at frequencies that threatened to shatter them. Nora ran alongside Thela and Elder Kith, following the chaos to its source while Vex went to evacuate the other sections. There, Thela pointed to a cluster of figures gathered around one of the major root nodes, the living computers that helped regulate the garden's complex systems. Even from a distance, Nora could see they were using some kind of device that glowed with artificial energy, forcing the node to accelerate its processes. "Separatists," Elder Kith said grimly. "They believe the old knowledge should remain pure, untainted by human influence. They would rather destroy the gardens than allow the truth of our shared heritage to emerge." Nora felt the discord in her bones. The separatists' device was trying to extract centuries of stored memories all at once, like downloading an entire library in seconds. The garden couldn't handle the strain. "We have to stop them," she said, watching crystal flowers shatter under the stress of competing energies. "But how?" "You are the bridge," Elder Kith reminded her. "You speak both languages. Perhaps you can help the garden resist their interference." Nora took a deep breath, extending her gift toward the struggling root node. The song there was chaotic, painful, ancient memories fragmenting under the forced extraction, but underneath it all she felt something else, a rhythm steady and familiar like a heartbeat. Without fully understanding why, she began to hum. The sound wasn't quite human and wasn't quite Zalaxian, but something in between. The crystal structures nearest to her stabilized, their light synchronizing with her voice.